last year you were on Colin Cowherd's show, and you had mentioned that some of Bill's political statements or leanings may have caused him to start to lose touch with the locker room. Is that something that, had he gone to an NFL team, a new NFL team, do you think those types of things would have followed him? Or do you think part of the problem was like the length of time that he was in New England paired with that?
So I don't know what would have happened or could have happened for another locker room. I could speak for our locker room, the locker room I was in, because that's the only experience I have in that. Is that like, look, politics, like all of us right now, can be very divisive and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the one thing about New England was like, we don't want to let anything divide us, right? We all have our rights of opinions, but like, let's leave that out of it. That kind of was the rule. Like, you're not going to talk about, religion or politics in your media answers. Like, if you want to do that privately on your platform, like publicly in your platform, fine, but not like at work or whatever. That was like the biggest thing. Like, we're not going to let those things happen. There's a lot of situations that happen in New England where we were kind of told, like, just avoid it, steer clear, like, let's focus on football, which all of us respected. Like, all right. So then when his political ties kind of came out and, Trump said that he, like, Belichick's a huge supporter, or wrote him a letter or whatnot, it kind of felt contradictory to what he told us, like what we were allowed to talk about or should talk about. So I think that kind of sterned some players, some of the older players, just some players in general, like, that's a double standard. And I felt like that was like, that's not cool, So I just felt like some of us felt as if, why are you allowed to do it, but you're saying we're not allowed to do it, in a sense of that. It's what wasn't what his political ties were or weren't. It's just that kind of the rules of unwritten rules of how we going to handle business. He kind of, and whether he meant for that or not, it got out, right? And then that was some conversation of like, I know some elder statesmen and captains on our team were like, well, we're not cool with that because that's not what we're allowed to do or what you said we're allowed to do. So it kind of was a double standard in there. And I think that definitely rubbed the locker room. And I will say this, in any championship team I've ever been on and any bad team I've ever been on, the leadership, the locker room runs the team. Coaches, they got to do their best to lead the locker room, but the power of the locker room, of culture and all that stuff, is built on the players in the locker room. And New England had a lot of good guys in there, and things were run in the locker room. Like Tom Brady ran the locker room, Devin McCourty, Matt Slater, Vince Wilfork, like the type of people they were, that's what was going to be allowed. Like, I didn't want to mess up because I didn't want to get Vince Wilfork mad or Brady mad. Like, I have respect for them and their careers. So the locker room on great teams, they're player driven. And New England was player driven for years. We were led by Bill, but we were player driven. So I felt like the locker room wasn't cool with what Bill did there, then that's how we felt as a whole. And, we had to keep rocking with that going forward. But we were allowed to feel like that. It wasn't like he was going to hush us from that.